science. What is it all about? Technology. What is
the last bit of sneakiness that we can play with atoms. Surely now, we're going to get to grips with it. Leave the detector there, but just very quietly go and unplug it. Don't let the atoms know that you're not spying on them. Make them think that you're still detecting them. So, yeah, okay, we're going to run the experiment, atoms, okay, get ready, one at a time, we're going to be checking on you. All right, so run the experiment again. Now, if you can explain this using common sense and logic, do let me know, because there's a Nobel Prize for you.
Quantum theory is just magic and mysticism, more specifically Kabbalah. In 1935, Einstein made up a theorem that briefly and grossly states that if one of the two entangled particles, like the smallest building blocks of the universe, change their quality, the other particle would imitate the change in the opposite direction. Say an electron goes right, and because another twin electron was created with it, it goes left. 1964, John Bell then tested if this theorem was true, and turns out, indeed it is. So now, as modern science, we agree that things in fact can be affected without touch or contact. It is actually spooky as Einstein defined it.
Some physicists think accepting retrocausality can answer a lot of unanswered questions about quantum mechanics and deepen our understanding of spooky action at a distance. Yeah, it's spooky.
But some theorists are thinking that instead of this just being a spooky occurrence, the exchange of A and B's spins are caused by retrocausality.
The way some physicists see it, retrocausality would allow particle B to go backwards in time.
When it does so, it takes the spin to the moment it was created and therefore affected its entangled partner.
Is the present determined by the future? The idea that our universe and everything in it has a secret plan, a goal that we inevitably have to reach, is called teleology. But the idea of teleology keeps popping up in physics, and apple pie or not, today I want to try and convince you that we should take it more seriously. Quantum physics is even compatible with this teleological.
TIQM says that quantum waves from future come back in time in order to help this game reach its goal. In fact, causality is a quote-unquote handshake of past and future. So the smallest building blocks of this universe are following a goal in their basic interactions. This in philosophy is called teleology, not to be mixed with theology. From Greek telos, meaning end or result. Everything could be thought in terms of teleology. Trees do not grow because rain fell on a seed only, but trees grow and rain falls on seeds just so that they could sustain oxygen and start life on Earth, for example. The sky perhaps is not blue because it has the certain chemicals in it that give it this color. However, sky is blue because a colorblind kid who could see only blue wished to see sky a lot. Maybe not that far, but you catch my drift.
This seems like the most feeble thing. What's an intention? It's light, it's airy, what does it matter? Intention, it actually turns out to be the whole key that turns all of reality. Is actually the intention. So much so that the whole reality I'm feeling now is because of some unknown intention. So it's all about learning about our intention, identifying what it is, and then twisting this key and changing that intention. The intention is the thing before the thought, before the desire, before the action. Okay, it's the most fundamental thing. Everything about the wisdom of Kabbalah relies on your intention.
The most ancient reference to the will is in Kabbalah, as its name in Hebrew is ratzon, meaning desire or God's desire and will. The whole purpose of Kabbalah is to align oneself with this desire and plan of God so that one's wishes on this earth also manifest alongside God's wishes. There are many interpretations of Kabbalah in many different cultures. I may definitely say that Aleister Crowley also was interpreting this will found in Kabbalah when he coined his term, the true will.
Imagine there's something like a quasar, and that's 1 billion light years away from us, right? And the light is coming from that quasar to here. The decision about when the light goes to the left or to the right would have to be made when? About 1 million years ago. And we can measure whether it went to the left or to the right. Well, it turns out that decision is in the past, as we think of it, but what the delayed choice experiment tells us is that that decision is made now when we measure that light. Right? When the little telescopes, suppose we have 2 telescopes, one picks up on the left, one picks up on the right, and it's when we do the measurement, and until we do that measurement, both of those possibilities still exist.
This clearly changes past in a way. Everything changes, including the timeline, according to what the system wants, what the system wills.
What is time? A deceptively simple question, yet it is the key to understanding relativity. Time is not absolute. In fact, for us believing physicists, the distinction between the past, present, and future is but a stubborn illusion.
This relativity aspect of quantum physics, when told to a Jewish rabbi, Rabbi Koch, I know the weird name, by Albert Einstein, told by Albert Einstein, deemed as a kabbalistic mirroring.
Did you know Albert Einstein was amazed by a rabbi's knowledge of the theory of relativity? In 1923, Professor Albert Einstein visited Jerusalem and met Rav Kook. You might think they had nothing in common, but Rav Kook told Einstein that the revolutionary idea of relativity wasn't entirely new to Judaism. He quoted ancient Kabbalistic texts that explain how time isn't uniform. It changes for every...
There are so many other things in quantum physics that reflect Kabbalah. One more example is surely Tzimtzum in Kabbalah. It is said that God initially collapsed or shrunk into a little point, only to then expand. This ultimately reflects the Big Bang theory, where the universe started from an ultimately dense point-sized compaction.
The Kabbalistic description of creation is coming from a single little point, from a speck, and of having matter form and time and space form all together at the very beginning. This sounds very much to me like the description of the Big Bang.
When I first made the correlations between Kabbalah and science, I was stunned.
We do know that Isaac Newton had access to certain mystical texts, certain texts of the Kabbalah.
I want to remind you again, this is not me simply drawing parallels between Kabbalah and quantum mechanics, since Albert Einstein himself, the most notable originator of quantum mechanics, came from the same roots as Kabbalah by being Jewish and also, not to mention, a Zionist, and his theory was even associated with Kabbalah by a very famous rabbi. So what do you make out of all this? And this is basically why I claim Kabbalah is a practice that actually works. Note that there's also a variant of Kabbalah called the practical Kabbalah, Kabbalah Ma'asit in Hebrew, I guess. I don't speak Hebrew. This basically means magic, in fact. And you can check out my video about allies practicing Kabbalah. I will link it in the description, hopefully. And you can see that every successful family in the world had studied it, in fact. So, here you go. And I, myself, had started learning so much about magic since 2023. and only recently have I started wanting to share this, a little part of this at least, with the world. So I may definitely say, if you want to pull rabbits out of your hats, then you should probably subscribe, okay? It's Saint Bora. Peace out.
They are all eliminated in precisely 10 and 26 dimensions. These dimensions are magic. We physicists don't know where these dimensions come from.
The Zohar says those things. It could just have been a lucky guess. I don't know.
They knew things about the universe that took us till now to discover.
I think it's rather intriguing that the Zohar mentions cholesterol and mentions the liver and bile.
What I like about Kabbalah is that it has a rather profound view of a creator, of a divine being that transcends all possible notions that we could have.
There can be an interface between science and spirituality.
The Zohar's notion that light is a realm of no time and no space is quite consistent with special relativity.
What's been stopping it so far are, number one, the lack of a good concept, and I think the Kabbalah is offering that now in the context of modern science. And two, a reticence on the part of both scientists and people in religion to mix the two.
It's rather amazing, this uncanny reflection of some of the most advanced cosmology coming from our satellites, coming from our atom smashers, coming from our blackboards, that are mirrored in the Zohar and ancient Kabbalistic texts.